I'm super curious about the backstory of the Propagandhi album cover for Potemkin City Limits, which is you're
Hmm.
painting children's games. And I'm wondering if you can just tell me a little bit about the story of this painting, like when you painted it, what the influences of it were, any techniques, anything that springs to mind in relation to that particular piece of work.
Yeah, well, that one, which is entitled simply "Children's Games." I don't know if they printed that on the album itself, but I had the idea was inspired by just growing up a street kid in the neighborhood where so much of the time, even middle class kids were out in the streets. This is another area where the culture has shifted, where people across the board, but especially children and teenagers, don't go outside very much. They're indoors, right? Looking at their social media or whatever they're doing, looking at their Netflix or just being indoors because
Hmm.
if their parents are wealthy and uptight, they are afraid to let the kid out. If the parents are poor and frightened, they're equally frightened that their kid's going to get shot if they go out. So I think it's something that transcends class, that parents are overprotective. They're uncomfortable with the kids just being out wandering the streets, even though I think the streets are, in most places, are a good bit safer than they were years ago. That's the irony, is that when I was growing up, the streets actually were dangerous back in the 60s and 70s. I had all kinds of close calls with that. But then, in the 21st century, there's all of this hysteria about crime and how dangerous it is out on the streets. When if you look at a graph, the crime has actually gone way down. The murder rate and all of that is way down from what it was back in the 60s and 70s. I think there are speed bumps. I think since the pandemic, it's gone up a little bit. Things have gotten more violent than in the last few years, with the income disparity getting so extreme that you could predict that there's going to be more street crime than there had been. But it was just being spending time on the streets and drawing art with chalk on the sidewalk and playing all kinds of games like Ringalivio. You don't know that one? That was like one of these
Mm-mm.
games. It was really similar to Capture the Flag. There
Mm.
are different variations, if you ever heard of that. It's basically the same as Capture the Flag, where there were these two sides, two neighborhoods, trying to grab something from the other side and bring it back to your turf, back to your block, your neighborhood. But if you get tagged out, or if you get tackled out, you decide ahead of time how, what the rules are going to be. Are we playing tackle football, or is this just touch football?
Mm.
Touch you and then you're out, and then you're in jail, and they're watching you. There's a jailer. There's a job. You're not first base, second base, shortstop. No, 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 Greg. Your job is, you're the jailer. You have to watch this kid who just got tagged out, because if you're not paying attention, you could escape. You could just run out of jail, and if they don't catch you, then you're free again. So those were the rules. There weren't too many rules to Ringalivio, and it resulted in a lot of skinned knees and elbows and whatnot, because every time you fell down, it was the asphalt, and so this image was trying to conjure that world of the games that kids play in the street, whether it was stickball or, I mean, I was never too much of an athlete. I always ran faster than anyone else, though. So that was always a thing. I was always able to get away. As Richard Pryor said, why stay and fight when you could always run away? He who runs away lives to see another day. I was the kid who was more likely just quietly drawing pictures in the corner or on the sidewalk. In fact, in the lower right corner of this image, there's some kid with dark hair with chalk, drawing the, signing his name to the thing. So that's my self-portrait there. Though, is that on the album, or I think it got cropped?
It's not on the album, but I know that the artwork was licensed as a puzzle, which I also own. And in the puzzle, which is the full long image, you can see that the part that you're talking about.
That's right. If you can look it up online, there's a you could buy the jigsaw puzzle of children's games.
It's insanely hard. I did it. It's so hard.
Yeah, I haven't tried. I have the box over here, but I haven't spilled the pieces out yet.
Oh my God, it's so hard. It's a real challenge. You'll
Yeah.
love it. It's worth doing, but man, it's hard.
Another influence for that picture was the Spike Lee, the movie Do the Right Thing, probably Spike's greatest movie. There are a couple of scenes where they're kids just drawing chalk pictures on the streets, a little boy, a little girl. It's something ubiquitous, not just in the cities. I mean, hey, suburban sidewalks too. You'll see little kids doing their hopscotch right there on the sidewalk. It's that's something that even as an adult, I always try to remember what that was like. Children's culture, all of the games and the songs we would sing.